and welcome to another episode of the SpaceYaTech Podcast. With me today is Fred, our usual co-host. Fred, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Mal. How are you guys? And welcome to this episode where we want to talk to David Clinton. So, David Clinton, how are you?
I am fine, Fred.
Yeah.
How are you? How has your week been, guys? Mine has been hectic, and I'm just glad tomorrow is a Friday.
My week has not been so fine. I don't know why I have so much pressure in my chest. It is perhaps I just need to sleep or
you should sleep,
maybe I need therapy. But I
take a break. Therapy also helps. You don't feel fine. Okay, maybe one time we can have a session where we just talk, have a conversation about life and mentorship and tech and everything, take away that pressure from you. Yeah. A problem talked about is half solved. But yes, guys, away from little therapy and taking a break from daily work to work, today we have our guest in the house who has a very interesting history. I was just getting to know him before we started the episode, and his story is quite a unique one. So, David Clinton, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Okay, so just for the benefit of the audience, can you just tell us? I know you're a front-end engineer, and I would like you to just tell us what your story has been like, how you broke into tech, because you're a self-taught, yeah, carrying it like a badge of honor. So, when did you begin? What made you get from what you were doing as a profession to tech? And how was your journey? What were what were those high points that you say this is something that, looking back, was a key point in my journey in tech?
Okay, thank you. So, I'm a front-end developer, as you said, and I specialize in React. My journey as a self-taught developer started with a passion for web development. I just started out doing web development for amusement at the beginning. Didn't think that I would come to, really like write a lot of code and stuff. And then it got to a point that my perception about tech changed. Obviously, social media interacted with that because I would see people saying, you can do this, having these skills and stuff like that. And so, without still thinking that I could break into tech, I continued honing my skills and expertise. And I would say that my journey as a self-taught developer was exciting and a fulfilling one because I didn't stay looking for a job for a long time. I landed my first role last year, January, as a technical writer, contributor for a company in New York known as Paperspace. Did that for a
Impressive.
few, that it was really impressive. Did that for a few months. Still showed people what I could do, build projects, tweeted about them,
Yeah.
tweeted about one or two things continuously. And on April last year, I met a friend. Is a vigilant tech bro in the Kenyan tech space who asked me.
Names withheld, yeah.
Yeah, let me withhold the name because I haven't asked for permission yet.
Okay.
So he's the one who told me you can start applying for jobs here locally in Kenya. You will get jobs. You have a good set of skills. I think you can get an entry level job. And then I think his company was hiring. Now that's my first post. I worked for an American startup called Untapped. And that's where I got my internship. I think it was the biggest highlight of my last year. I mean, I was so happy I shouted about it all over on Twitter for a month or two.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I would say that with the internship, when the internship came, I was a bit skeptical if I could, manage the job.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But Fred was here. We had a Discord channel that had guys like Joseph Maramba.
Mm.
That's where I would shoot questions. I think the first 2 weeks that I was an intern, I used to talk to Fred a lot. I think he can remember that, and some other guys. Um, I was afraid I wouldn't keep it up, but people told me this thing. You got to this point because of your hard work. You're going to be okay. And
Yeah,
right
imposter
now,
syndrome improves with experience. So don't as I'm sure it's less now than it was when you were beginning.
right now, I would say that I have no imposter syndrome. Bring anything to
Nice.
me.
Okay.
But Devi, I saw you ulikuwa unaandika Python. As in, when did that transition from Python to React come in? Because
Okay,
initially you were tweeting about Python a lot actually.
exactly. So I was reading a lot about Python, and then um, it got to a point where I wanted to build a full stack app. So, and I know a friend who is a React developer. Then I DM'd him and asking him, "What do you think about React? Can I start? Can I start using React?" Kaniuliza, "Have you ever used JavaScript?" Kambi, I've been using JavaScript till even a few minutes before I talked to you. And he told me, "You just go ahead and start a React app and write your own code." So I fumbled in with some tutorials, posted that project on Twitter. I also had a project on GitHub. Actually, the one on GitHub, it was a very stupid project, but that was the project that got me the internship because they just wanted to see, have you ever written a React app?
Uh-huh. So it wasn't so stupid after all.
I will say it was stupid because
What
um,
was it about?
it was just a portfolio website.
Yeah, that's most people have portfolio websites. So yeah, don't despise small beginnings.
Yeah, but it was entirely dirty code when I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was tutorial based.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me to like rebuild what I built on that time, I wouldn't. Okay,
Yeah.
so I will say I didn't know anything in
Mm.
React.
Yeah.
But now that's where I believe that there is learning on the job
Ah.
because
Okay. Mm-hmm.
came to work
Yeah.
and
Now,
told that
yeah, Nene, you told me about the story of how you got your internship, and this is very important for the audience because internships. I don't know whether it's because the market has changed currently, or the conditions are still the same. But one of the things that are very hard to get is one attachment that is just for every profession, and then another one hard to get is internship, and then it's even harder to get into an entry level job like just from the outside outside coming in. But I think you got into your first entry level job through the internship. So the internship part, okay, you nini umesema you don't want to mention the guy, but I think I'm going to mention Hoslak because Hoslak is somebody we have interviewed on the space, and an amazing guy, like an amazing guy. I talked to him, before you introduced me to Hoslak, and in the running days when I was talking to him to come onto the space. Nilikuwa nasema the approach aje huyu Hoslak, because the way you had talked about Hoslak, like Hoslak was this guy, So when I was trying to talk to Hoslak to come onto the space, I was just kind of afraid, hey, umse atakubali kweli kuja kwa space. But I found out that Hoslak was this down to earth guy who's just so professional and so nice. And then he told us his story about how he himself got into tech, like the whole story from high school when he went to Israel, and his stint at Safaricom when he met his mentor who kind of put him on the trajectory that he is on now. So this brings me to like just kind of the importance of mentorship and the importance of networks, and how these networks that you have built or found along the way have helped you to first of all get into the internship, because it's not easy, and then so far where you are. So just speak a bit about how you get into the internship first, from just guys seeing some of the things that you are tweeting on the TL.
Okay, that's a good question. And now that you've decided to expose the guy, it's Hoslak actually. Um, um, I would say that I've known Hoslak for a long time actually. Way before we even got to high school. But then, until I started writing code, I didn't know Slack was writing code. You know, we had not met for a long time or interacted socially. We just come from the same place, really close as a family, and and I didn't know Slack was an engineer at that time. So I was just on Twitter sharing my stuff every day, just sharing, meeting new people, networking, meeting new people. And then it came a day, some tweet went viral. I'm looking at the name, this name is familiar. Saying it's Hoslak, followed him. Then commented here and asked him, hey, Hoslak, do you remember it's me, Tony, from home? So I think he just followed me back right away. Then I was still posting stuff on Twitter. He could see. At that time, I still didn't know that he was a senior engineer somewhere. I just thought he was, I didn't think of anything. So, um, fast forward, I just stayed consistent with my stuff. He could see them. And now that I mentioned that is the person who approached me and said that I've seen your skills and I think you would be really fit to apply for entry level jobs. He's the one who triggered that fire in me. And then his company was hiring. Um, he posted some link on his WhatsApp status. Then I applied, got a rejection immediately, and then later on called up for an internship role. Asked that now that you missed this role, can you be able to go for the internship one? And that was a big deal for me. That's how I got into it. So I would say, first of all, it's the networking. I knew him personally, but you'll never have known that I write code if I didn't share it on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, true.
I will never, yeah, so there's a bit of one or two unfortunate things that had to happen for me to get that chance because he would have referred anyone else for the role. But it came at the right time. We met while I was sharing my journey, and the opportunity came at the same time, and just made him think of me as the first person to refer for a role. And I think it was a good timing for me. So I would say, if I did the other way around, just wrote code and never shared it with people, no one will ever have known that I can do this and that. And maybe I will never have changed careers till today.
Yeah, that's true. Mal, by the way, I write code. So if an internship opportunity, we have known each other with you for a very long time. So it will be my hustler.
Yes, I will be your hustler.
Yeah, but it was quite amazing, and that's even what drew me to find Hoslak and speak to him, and it also reminded me something else, because we have also hosted another amazing guest here called Ronnie
Yeah,
Otieno, the Android. Yeah, also an
I was also
amazing guy,
thinking
and
about this
yeah,
story. Yeah,
yeah, and the way he started, it was kind of the connection, somebody telling him that this uh here is an opportunity, and his story was kind of that, not to retell it, but also it was also somebody who kind of interested him in writing code, because we saw
yeah,
somebody who was doing well, and I think it was
and
his aunt maybe who who connected him with this other person. And it
Yeah.
and I think, Mal, in this sense, you see how mentorship works, because I think sometimes you have a perception that, a mentor is somebody who's supposed to be teaching you how to code, or is supposed to
Not.
be holding your hand. But I find it very, very powerful that in the case of Hostler, for instance, he spoke uh, David's name in the
In
room of
rooms where he
opportunity.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's something that people ignore when it comes to when we are discussing about mentorship.
Networks and mentorship.
Yes,
Yeah.
networks, and actually, being mentored, or knowing the right people. So in
Mm.
this sense, when I'm thinking about the story that David has just shared, is that this brand of mentorship is where, it's not just vibes and inshallah, where you share stuff and then this guy shows you that, okay, do this, do this, do this, but he
Yeah.
has you in mind always, so that the opportunities that he comes along, or even in his place of work, is confident enough with your skills to recommend you for roles.
Our
No, no.
position. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we are talking about mentorships, sometimes I saw some guy arguing, in the past, I think in the past 1 month, that mentorship si
Mm-hmm.
lazima in tech, sijui you can just go and learn YouTube tutorials, sijui ati
And that's
mnatakanga
okay.
mentorship ya nini. Yeah, it is okay,
And
but
that's
I think
fine. That
the
is his
Mhm.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in every career, like sahi kukuwa
Mm-hmm.
na somebody who can show you the path and even speak your name in the right places, because competition is really high outside here. Yeah,
True. True.
yeah, yeah.
True, that is true. But
Mm,
people's learning curves are different. Maybe he can lock himself up in a room, go through tutorials, and get, understand what he needs to understand. On a personal level, that is not how I learn. I can't, I prefer, even in school, I was a group person. Let's go discuss this,
yeah, yeah.
guys. Let's talk about it.
Mm,
I learn better when I'm learning with other people or from other people. I understand things
yeah,
better. But if somebody prefers, and there were people who preferred to read alone at the corner, they're okay with that. Go through the notes, read
mm,
a book at the library. That wasn't my style. So the fact that somebody else's style doesn't work on you does not mean you should invalidate other people's way of learning. And I believe even in
yeah,
career growth, it's very important to have a mentor, somebody who has been before you, knows the
yeah,
ropes, just somebody to tell you, hey, don't go that route. This is shorter. This
yeah.
is more efficient. This is effective. It's important. Saves you time, gets you
True.
learning at a faster rate, right? And
Mm-hmm.
helps you
Mm,
build the network. So I think mentorship is really important, especially in tech where everything is everywhere. There's the Python route, the cyber security. So getting somebody to show you what exactly you need to do and not waste time on the
yeah,
tutorial
yeah.
hell and all that is it's quite important. And those stories need to be told.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So true. And David, I just want to kind of ask another question, just as a transition. And there's something that you mentioned that you have learned quite a lot on the job, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys even in our team who are really, really good. Like, they are really, really good
Mm.
in what they're doing. And sometimes I ask them, like, why haven't you considered, for instance, applying for a job, like, apply for a job.
Mm.
And okay, I always get mixed answers. But so,
Mm.
David, can you just speak about kind of the experience that you have gained, just from when you got the internship, and now you're a full-time engineer, full-time from front-end engineer. What's the difference between what you have gained now and what you are gaining during your learning phase, kind of?
And also on that, like, at what point did you think I'm ready for a job? Because there's always that fear, sort of like, okay, let me just one more month on tutorials, or one more project, one more. There's always that procrastination sort of thing where you don't believe you are quite ready yet for the market. So how, mixing it with Fred's question, what was your transition point from, yeah, I'm ready, let's go?
Okay, I'll start with that. My transition point was never that I'm ready. My
Mm-hmm.
transition point was, how the hell am I going to do this?
Mm.
Um, And I will say that you will never feel ready
Yeah, I agree
until
with that.
you until you do it, because you will get sometimes that you have a senior engineer in another company, and if he goes to another company, you will enter as a mid-level, because these things happen differently. We have different technologies, and not everyone knows everything.
Yeah.
Even as much as I write React code, I might go to a different place where they also write React code, but it will take me a long time to understand their code base. See,
Yeah.
so I would say that it takes a lot of values in you, being ready to learn, being ready to
Mm.
listen, and just making yourself stupid. You know,
Yeah.
when I got my role, I believed that I didn't know anything, so I would ask the silliest of questions. I
Mm.
remember I tweeted that I cloned the wrong repo when I was an intern, so we were in a stand-up meeting, and then my lead engineer asks me to share my screen. So sharing the VS Code, he's
Mm-hmm.
asking me, but this is not the project we are doing. So
What?
I was just confused. So I wasn't even confident with myself. But I would say that I realized that learning on the job and learning out of the job is too different, because when you're learning on the job, you have pressure.
Yeah.
The pressure is that at the end of the day, you're supposed to have completed one or two
De-
things.
deliver. Yeah.
You're supposed to deliver, and you're
Yeah.
supposed to deliver it without bugs. So you do it, test it, and ship it.
Mm.
But when I was out of the job, I used to like just do it at my pace, follow some
Mm.
tutorial of some
Yeah.
guy. Some guy who's also looking for money in YouTube,
Mm.
and that was the problem. But right now, when as a full-time engineer, I transfer what I do at work to what I do at my own free time. I don't watch tutorials anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
just plan my project, say that I need to complete feature X, Y, Z. Then when I'm on feature X, I Google about it,
Mm.
uh, read about it, implement it. Now we have even better tools. We have ChatGPT. I just ask it to help me plan for this part and this part. Ask it to help me explain this type of code. Ask it to fix this error for me and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's about understanding what you're doing and delivering on what you're doing. So learning on the job makes learning faster, because you actually focus on the activity itself. You put your mind, your focus all into it. So you find yourself having less distractions, less worries. The actual worry is that if I don't finish this well, I might lose my job. So, and that is
Especially with the massive layoffs going on around now. So
yeah,
yeah, makes
that's the
sense.
that's the biggest worry. So
Mm.
um, I think that is what helped me. I would come back to home from work, and actually the first 2 months of my internship were pretty tough, because I used to commute for a very long distance from Kitengela to Westlands. That was a long,
That's a long yes. Every
yeah. So
morning.
every morning, and I would come back home tired, sleepy, but I still want to open my laptop and complete that task I was working on, so that tomorrow during the stand-up, I would say that yeah, I completed it. It was a rough time, but it helped me a lot. I would say that the first 2 months of my internship were my boot camp, because I gained a lot of skills that I wouldn't imagine having those skills while learning out of the job, even for a year.
Okay, expand just a bit. Is it in terms of like the projects that you worked on, or kind of the processes that you found at your first job? Because at SpaceYaTech, for instance, the way that we want ourselves to be organized, even the engineering team, and Mal is now our new PM. Woo! uh, Mal, congratulations. Um,
Thank
he
you.
is he always want to like mirror that environment of of engineering, like your typical engineering department in any organization. We want to have those processes. We have to have those development methodologies in place, like everything mirrored so closely, such that somebody else who comes to work with us, or somebody who is developing our systems or developing our products, when they leave, let's say like they're a junior engineer and maybe they were looking for roles, when they come and work with our engineers, like the seniors, like in Akina Ian, Akina Hudson,
Hudson.
when they when they exit to go to go interview somewhere else, they find that like there's no that hakuna hiyo culture shock where you have to learn things afresh. So sijui
Yeah.
ni some of the things that you learned here, that you learned maybe on the job, that maybe you hadn't thought of, just aside from the technical skills, because the technical skills are there, but also kuna
Mm.
those soft skills that you learn on the job, like team working, like how teams work, how sprints
Communication.
work. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was learning all of that on the job, by the way, and
Yeah.
it was heavy. Everything
Eh,
everywhere all at once. Oh, it was crazy. You know, when you say you work well under pressure, yeah, that was a lie. I was lying, guys. So yeah,
I can say for
it's not
instance that
easy.
I can say, for instance,
Mm.
unakumbuka the open source the sprints that we did, that you used to do. That is the
Mm-hmm.
first, actually that's the first time that I learned about vitu kama sprints, vitu kama backlogs, and I used
Stand up.
yeah, stand-ups. You see, before we did that, those that open source, and it was very intensive by there and well organized. Thanks to
Uh-huh.
Cecilia. I
Yeah.
used to hear people talk about stand-ups in the TL. Na nilikuwa
Yeah.
nashindwa, stand-up ni nini?
What is it?
Yeah, hizi sprints zenye watu wanasemanga ni nini? Hizi
Yeah.
sijui production ni nini? Yeah, so
Don't push to production on a Friday. You're like, what the hell
yeah,
is that?
nilikuwa naisha, hao watu wanaongea kuhusu nini? So David, what are some of the things that you learned on the job, your day, like some of the terminologies that you are learning on the job that you had never thought
Mm.
about while
Or
you are
processes.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's the same for me. I didn't know about a stand up. Um, Actually, I had trouble updating my progress for the first few stand ups that I attended
Why?
because our lead engineer just wanted to know, what were you doing yesterday?
Mm.
How did it go? And what will you be doing today? It's just that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whenever I was asked what I was working on, I would just freeze and fumble and start talking a lot of a lot of trash.
Gibberish.
Which yeah, we start talking a lot of gibberish. But I think I got to a point where I understood when you have a scrum board, you've picked a task. I mean, that's where I got to know about something known as story points. It's basically the estimation of the time that
User
it will take
stories.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
user stories.
Yeah.
So we used to, at our place used to have story points. That was with Jira.
Yeah. We also use Jira.
So
Same thing.
so you'd like at the end of the day leave an update on your ticket. Make sure that the ticket that you're working on does not spill over to the next day. If it's going to spill over to the next day, create a subtask out of it. Basically, you have to explain why this task is going to take more than one day. So
Yeah.
it helped me a lot to manage my time on every feature because I would be able to now break my task into simpler tasks. And when you break a task into simpler tasks, your PRs get merged in time. You get to have less problem with your head of engineering. You get to complete your tasks in time. And if you have a blocker, and you just update on the ticket that I'm having a blocker on this part and tag anyone and they will come in and help you. So I would say the first few weeks I had a problem with this because I thought that if I wanted someone to help me, I would just go to them physically and then tell them that,
And
hey, I am having trouble making this login functionality. Please make it for me. But
yeah.
that's not how it works. It works that you go sit with them and do a pair programming session.
Yeah.
So so I would say
No.
with the agile methodology.
Mhm.
It's a very essential engineering concept that helps teams ship features in a orderly way and in an estimated time perfectly, I would say. So I was in the same spot as Fred, not knowing about stand-ups, story points, backlog, engineering review, and all of that stuff. But I wouldn't say that it should be a problem for anyone because if you get into any team, they'll teach you.
Those who can teach you. I don't think everybody makes a good teacher, but those, if you get somebody who is good at it, then you really have a lot to gain from that interaction with them. How do you
Yeah, sure.
find the programming sessions?
Pair programming sessions are fun. You get to 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 see how somebody else is thinking,
Yeah.
especially if you do a pair programming session with someone who is supposed to be reviewing your code.
Hmm.
You know your code will not stay for longer. It will just open a pull request and it will be approved immediately, right?
Yeah.
Because they were there with you. They will tell you that this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong,
Mm.
this is right. And if
Mm.
you had something in your mind that is different, you just tell them immediately that why shouldn't you do it this way? And then they will see, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it your way. So it helps people in teams think in the same way, which makes the code more friendly, more readable, and more maintainable, such that if someone comes and sees the code later, they wouldn't be surprised. Hey, David, what did you do here? They will remember that I was with David when we did this, and it made sense doing it this way. So pair programming sessions are really good for faster workflow, good code, maintainable code. Yeah, and helping out someone who's stuck with something too.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Can I just ask, maybe how big is the kind of the dev team at where you currently are?
Come again?
Yeah, just how big is the development team at your place of work currently? Like in terms of numbers, like a rough estimate of numbers.
Oh, more than 30.
Oh, that's
That's
quite
a
a
big,
that's quite a yeah, that's a big number, right?
yeah, that's a huge team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And
So on the,
yeah, go ahead, Mal.
oh no, no, it's a question. So just finish.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to bring in like maybe a short discussion of imposter syndrome when
Mm.
just when you get into a team as big as that, because you are coming from, you're a self-taught dev, and you meet the team for the first time, and you get to, after sometimes you get to know some of the capabilities of the team members. These are CS graduate, he has done this and this and this. You get shown some of the projects that they have built, and you're like, wow, as in wewe umetoka tu hapo, wewe ni self-taught dev, ulikuwa unatengeneza calculator app. And did you ever like wonder, like, how will I cope here with the skills that I have? And then now looking back, I think you're connecting the dots backwards. You looking back at that time, maybe when you got into the organization as an intern for the first time, or when you got your first entry level role. Do you remember maybe if you had imposter syndrome and how it disappeared? Because you have said that right now I hauna imposter syndrome hata moja.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is there, but uh, it comes because someone doesn't try to accomplish things. So let's say mimi David niko na imposter syndrome na CSS, right?
Mm-hmm.
How should I approach this? Can't I build something on CSS and be confident that I understand CSS? So imposter syndrome inakuja, mtu anaamini that it's because I can't do something without Googling. I mean, I have to Google for me to do something. That's the wrong mindset because you will always have to look up something somewhere. I recently saw someone brag on Twitter that they cannot build a project without Googling. and then then I was like, nilicheka hata mimi mwenyewe. That's not a flex. Why should you trouble your brain so much? Utakuwa hata na headache if you're trying to build out
When
everything.
everything is on the internet, right?
Yeah. When everything is on the internet, it's like someone, you are a very you're a son of a very rich person who puts out cash in the house whenever you need it to call a credit card at your disposal, and then you say, no, I don't need this cash. I have to make it on my own. Let me go outside there and struggle and need a second in Kanage Mgu. Doesn't
When
make
you have
sense.
resources at your disposal,
You
it's
have
like
resources at your disposal.
reinventing the wheel. Yeah.
Exactly. So I believe imposter syndrome inakuja kwa mtu kama unataka. Hata mimi time nilikuwa nataka, I would say.
I'll
But when you start
object to that,
accomplishing,
but yeah.
when you start accomplishing stuff, and you wanted to build X and connect it with Y and complete building it, you already know that I can do this now. And then you realize that I did this by doing this. Then why should I have imposter syndrome? But I understand imposter syndrome inaweza kuja to someone when they are job hunting, because you receive a rejection email and you think that these guys are rejecting me because I'm not good enough.
Not
But
good.
that's not the
Yeah.
case. That's not the case. Sometimes they have just advertised a job and they already employed someone, right? That's one issue. Sit in your window. It's not that you are the problem. Maybe they are just the problem. They already employed someone, or maybe the person who was supposed to go through your CV skipped it. So it's not that you're not good enough. In fact, I have the worst resume. It does not reflect my skills, I would say, personally.
Yeah.
Because as much as I have a job, sometimes I still apply for some, and then someone sends me a rejection, and I ask myself, does this person know who they are missing out on? So
Do you know who I am?
exactly, exactly. So it shouldn't trouble you, or
Yeah.
you have an interview with someone, and then they're asking you some questions that wao wako na some board wanaangalia hapo kando answers, and they want you to say the answers that they're looking at. But it's all about building. I can't start defining React and I know how to use React. See, so
Yeah.
imposter syndrome comes when you think that someone thinks you're not good enough. But as long as you believe you can do something, then imposter syndrome shouldn't be a problem if you can do it. And doing it is always tied to finding the best way to do it. And finding the best way to do it is just by taking your laptop and Googling it or asking someone who knows. Not having ego, unaenda tu nauliza silly question. I remember I didn't know what a tunnel was when I was an intern. It's like you need to connect to a backend service and it's not yet deployed, so someone gives you his local changes. So this backend engineer is telling me, David, because we're working on the same feature with him, nikupatie tunnel to test your feature. Namuuliza tunnel ni nini?
Okay, hebu tuambie tunnel ni nini bro? Tunnel ni nini?
Exactly. So let's say you're working on a feature that consumes some data from an endpoint from the backend, right?
Yeah.
Both of you are working on the same feature at the same time, so none of your changes has been merged or deployed. So huyu mtu ana host yake locally, ana start server na wewe host yako locally. So una connect your React app with his tunnel with his server locally without using the deployed changes. So I would say that's where the word tunnel came into place here.
Yeah, I've
So
ever had someone use that term actually.
yeah, so it's used to mtu anakuambia tu, hey David, pe tunnel, nikupe tunnel. You see, like if you don't know now, unabaki what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So I would say um, I got to learn all of this stuff, and I realized that for you to avoid imposter syndrome is just by upskilling and upskilling. Hakuna shortcut. Hakuna tu unaamka tu
Mm.
eti acha imposter syndrome itoke. Una skill
Yeah.
to, and then you believe in yourself that you have. In fact, when I go for for an interview and then mtu ani they reject me, I even apply for a more senior role right after that. You can't make me look bad. No, no, no. That's that really.
Yeah.
That's their loss, not on your end.
Yeah, okay. Partially it's my loss, yes, but still,
Yes,
life moves on. Life moves on. You
right.
guys go on with your candidate. Let me go on with my skill.
That sounds like a
When
bigger
we
person.
when we hosted Nani Juma Alan, I was okay.
Uh-huh.
I was one of those people who was surprised to know that Juma Alan also gets rejection emails, and I was like, hey, kwani wase utafutanga nini kwa job candidates? And what you have talked about Nani Dave, is that sometimes you just don't get the job, not because you're not good enough, but
Yeah,
because
it's
of
not
some other
about you all the time.
circumstances. Yeah, yeah. Some people
Yes.
just get jobs through because there was somebody who was who had networked better and know somebody who in that organization, and they just get into that role very smoothly, not because they don't have the skills, but because their networks worked for them at that moment.
Right. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
maybe you're in the wrong continent.
Y-
It's not about you
yeah.
all the time.
Sometimes you're just in the wrong continent or even
Yeah.
the wrong country. Yeah,
Yes.
and
You have the
and
wrong.
mhm, mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, and I don't know, Mal, if you have a question. David is
Yeah,
yeah.
our time with David is up, so we will have to let him go. David, it's been interesting and fun learning from you and hearing your story. And we hope next time we can have you. Maybe you'll have more time. We can continue the conversation with you and get to learn more about joining or getting into the tech space as a self taught developer.
Thank you. I was happy being here, guys.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, and have a nice one.